Happy Thursday, everybody.
Yes, happy Thursday.
There is
It
nothing
is
like starting off a show being yelled at by Deshaun Carter because we were 3 minutes late.
yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, thank you, Deshaun, for
That's
keeping
right.
us on track. We apologize greatly about our slight delay, but we are happy to have you here, and we are live now. So yes, yeah. And I guess it's what's it?
He was whispering.
Happy May, right? I was whispering.
Yeah. Happy
It's the
May.
first day of May. It's May already, Nikki. What happened with our
That's right.
lives? I don't know.
May 1st. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Good
What's
stuff.
going on? Hey, and shout out to Keith too. Welcome.
Yeah.
What's going on in your neck of the woods, Nikki?
Well,
Anything fun and exciting?
well, just lots of travel. So still doing travel. I want to point out as part of that travel, first and foremost, coming up, Cloud Foundry Day North America. Want to make sure we get that out there, and we'll put that in the notes as well again. But if you're not going, make sure you're going. We're going to be doing another show there. We've got a lot of great talks. If you haven't went in and taken a look, there's going to be a lot of good talks at Cloud Foundry Day this year.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure that you're going, and if you're not, make sure that we'll do a recap when this is over. But absolutely make sure if you're not going, you should be. Try to get there.
Yeah, and it's only 1 week, 5 days, 10 hours, 54 minutes, and 0 seconds away. So you should totally go. And before that, Tanzu, including myself, will be hosting kind of a day zero event at our Palo Alto campus to go over like the some of the fun stuff we're doing in the AI space, and a lot of the things that we talk about on the show now too, as well. So yeah, if you want to see us live in person and get it kind of free access, free to a lot of our Tanzu friends and kind of course and things. If you're going to CF Day, register for the day before, and you'll get two days of free or mostly free awesome sauce. I think there's a slight registration fee for Cloud Foundry Day, but I think it's only like $50. So
AI, what's happening with AI? It's taking over the world. Welcome to the new.com.
Yes. I'm actually not a person. This is Nick's avatar AI, and who knows if Deshaun is real at this point. But yeah. Anyway, yeah, so that's kind of the pre-show banter, and weather-wise, it's been very rainy, so there's another storm on the horizon. So hopefully I'll stay connected via the stream, but usually I have enough redundancies, I think, to survive pretty much anything at this point. But in the rare case Qwen data center goes offline, I'll try to hop back in as soon as possible. But
man, that's apocalyptic. If your data center goes offline, I can't imagine what the impact's going to be on the
internet.
I
mean, half the internet's going to go down, just like US East, right? Yeah.
And I do want to point out, it's we're showing our age when we've gotten to this habit of starting off the show where we talk about the weather or where we're at.
That's
very much like an old person thing to do, I think. What's the weather? Next, we're going to start talking about all of our medical problems.
Nice. Oh, well, but I guess we'll leave the medical problems aside. Speaking to Sean, said he's about to get a third network provider. I only have two, so now you're showing me up. Maybe I'll get a third as well. But let's see here. And I guess my one last thing, talking about feeling old. I was explaining to my son what using the internet with dial-up internet was like. And he's like, what do you mean? I just can't download a 400 gig game on my Xbox? I'm like, no, that would have taken 400 years, or never, right? Yeah. So you couldn't stream things. There's no such thing as YouTube, kid. What are you talking about? Yeah. So,
but if we could do the old dial-up screeching sound, and we would see people both get reminiscent and cringe all at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The class. It's that. If you'll never forget that noise, so to speak. Yeah, it's treating one character at a time. And now we live in this age of artificial intelligence where we have agentic AI and chatbots, and we could do vibe coding, we talked about with Kote last week, and all kinds of crazy things. So the world is changing, right?
Well, and even before we get there, I do want to admit, if everybody, again, if when 3G came out on cellular, everybody thought it was the greatest thing in the world. Now have somebody try to use downloads on 3G speed and see how irritated and upset they get in an instant when 5G is not working.
Hmm.
Wow.
Oh yes. Yeah. Or go from like a iPhone 15 or 16 and try to go to like an iPhone SE or something, like
Yep.
just something like one of the really old ones.
Yeah, I
Just
think we're
crazy
gonna have to
things.
get that screeching noise as a sign
Yeah.
out there, Keith, because
We're
absolutely
gonna
right. You could tell by the sounds whether it was gonna be good or whether you're gonna be throwing something against the wall.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
And then we had the advent of the cable internet where we went to like, lightning speeds of like, I don't know, 1 or 2 or maybe 3 megabits per second. Maybe in between you shelled out enough your own T1 line at your house and you were like really, really rolling in the dough, so to speak. I guess that would be the equivalent of what I'm doing now. Back in the day, I'd probably have my own T1 line, but yeah. Uh,
Nobody knows the pain that we went through of when you try to download a picture and watching it paint one line at a time.
yeah.
Right.
Whoop.
Yep.
Yeah, I was saying, like, if you like, it took 5 minutes to load a picture. Like, you can't watch a video. There's no
Yeah.
concept, right? No, nothing,
Nope.
right?
Nope. You
Yeah,
would sit there and it would be like somebody was painting the picture for you on the screen, one line
hmm
at a time, top down. You know,
yeah,
we could say that was like the original 3D printer, but it was for pictures only and it was dial up.
yeah. It was 2D, right? Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Okay. So I guess we should probably get to the show. Yeah, because we could probably spend the whole hour just talking about
Yeah.
our dial-up internet experiences. But
I want to
thanks.
do that, Nick.
Yeah,
I think we should do a show reminiscent of the old days of internet and then just, throw a link out there and have people pop on, give their stories. I think that would be a lot of fun.
yeah. And now the last thing I have to say on that: were you so cool that you had your own phone line for the internet, so that your primary phone line you could keep free for phone calls,
Oh
right?
no, no, I had
Oh
to,
no. Yeah.
I would be in the middle of something and my dad would come and pick up the phone and just block everything for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, okay. What are we doing today? I don't even know. What we
I'm
got to
guessing
stay
it's
on
going to be
track.
AI related.
Yeah. So it's really hard. I don't know. Maybe we need like a sub show where we just talk about AI stuff all the time, and then we
Mhm.
talk about Cloud Foundry stuff too. But I try to marry the same together, and I you know I wanted to talk. So I guess if we talk about the model wars, right? Or it's not really wars. It's just like the constant deluge of new models being released in the ecosystem. Maybe a couple of days ago, which is produced by Alibaba, we released Qwen 3, and that's great and wonderful. They had Qwen 2.5, Qwen 2. They've been around for a while. Uh, but what's interesting is that um, the Qwen 3 model released what we call like a higher parameter set, so like 30
Mhm.
billion and I think I don't know 200 something, like some two higher end parameter models, but with
Yep.
smaller, much smaller active parameters. Like the 30B has like 3 billion active parameters, and that is interesting because uh, we've been talking a lot about like GPUs or CPUs and like getting started with CPUs and what can you do with them. But I'm starting to think now, right? You could potentially start seeing a path where like you could do a lot of things or more and more things with CPUs, right? Because like GPUs are getting produced, as fast as humanly possible and sold as humanly possible, and we have in the US there's tariffs, so like those prices are skyrocketing still. But even these higher end systems coming like from Nvidia and things, still significant price investment, and just like getting that like in your traditional enterprise space. um, if you have the ability to obtain that, great, that's wonderful. But most likely you still probably have a lot of people with a lot of classic servers in their data centers, and you know unless you are like doing some kind of VDI type of thing or some kind of special use case, you most likely were not putting GPUs in said servers, right?
Right.
That's just what you didn't do that. I didn't. We're not gonna. We didn't need them, right? It was just like general purpose or general population. Classical virtualization VMware compute, right? And I think we have a lot of customers, a lot of people in the world, right, have all these servers out there. And it's kind of been up and down of what you can actually do with them, but this latest Qwen 3 model is very interesting in terms of what you can achieve with it, and how how it performs, like in you're essentially getting some of the effective knowledge of some of these higher, like a 30 billion parameter model, which if you try to run that on CPUs, that's just going to be
Mhm.
no bueno, right? Like it's going to be really slow. So all
Well,
your
and
apps would time out, that type of thing. So
that's one of the features. That's one of the features of Qwen3 that they're kind of pushing is this hybrid model approach for the reasoning. And correct me if I'm wrong, but
mhm,
it's allowing it to do, kind of this non-thinking model where it just returns answers to very simple questions, but it can go in and reason on more of the complex questions. And I think that's
mhm,
kind of where some of this comes in is that hybrid approach has allowed it to do things that other models may require GPUs for just because of the way they're set up. And Keith
mhm,
comes out, he said he's been running Qwen 2.5. And I think that's another interesting part is that, they're seeing with Qwen 3 that there's absolutely they're seeing the same performance that they were getting out of even the larger models on 2.5. So I
mhm,
think Keith, you
mhm.
absolutely want to try to check that out because the performance increase is supposed to be fairly significant.
Oh yeah, yeah. So yeah, shout out to Keith. Yeah, like again too, like from a if we look at just generally, like Quinn was like definitely a leader in one they would release like like a point 0.5 or a point 0.6b, like
Mhm.
multiple variants or multiple versions of their models, which is nice because in generally, like the smaller the model, the faster it will inference, but the let's just say the less smart it is at the same time,
Right.
right? So like what you typically would see is you might get a pretty snappy smaller model, but yeah, you try to throw some of these MCP tooling stuff we're throwing at it now with like Corby's working on and like all this agentic AI. May or may not do so well at it, or like the hallucination rate may be pretty high as well. So yeah, so that's kind of like what we're seeing. But like, I loaded it up this morning on our Gen AI Tanzu Platform tile that we're working on.
Mhm.
Push some apps to CF, and it's actually running pretty good. And granted, I'm Kuhn's data center is running on the e-waste of current data centers, so I think even what I'm running is still probably not even I mean, like my newest gear is Cascade Lake, and yeah, maybe I might have some Cascade Lake stuff running. Like if we talk our traditional VMware teams, you might have some hosts out there, but they're coming up the 5, 6, 7 year mark maybe, and they're probably either on the docket for decommission or actively being decommissioned as in their support life is ending, and you're probably rolling out a much newer uh, host generation at this
Mm.
time. So that's kind of
Well,
where
and
we're
how
at.
are you keeping up with? I mean, all the models, like you said, the deluge. There's just so
Hmm.
much coming out, and I'll be honest. I haven't been looking at Qwen 3 until we started talking about this episode. And I got in and looking, but I'm seeing that this is absolutely it's comparing to like the old, the Open AI O3
Hmm.
minis. It's comparing to Gemini 2.5 Pro. I
Hmm.
mean, this
Hmm.
this seems to be like a pretty performative model. I think we're seeing a lot of stuff that's coming out of the Far East is really kind of putting the pressure on the American side to kind of up their AI game because of what we're seeing.
Yeah. Yeah. There's. Yeah. So I mean, I generally like try to stay up to date with just like like things on Reddit or Twitter or whatever Blue Sky or whatever, right? Like just like that type of post, and it's like
Right.
and it's probably maybe more Reddit these days where like in the like local llama or like Olama subreddits be like, yeah, new model just dropped. And like that's and it's like, like it's like somebody committed it to Hugging Face like 2 seconds ago. Like, and someone just like drops that right
Right.
in one of those Reddit channels. And then, a flurry of activity you know, uh, commences in multiple other posts because people just immediately there are some people I mean who have the free time that there are just constantly on top of these new models dropping and immediately trying it out in their labs or their infrastructure and whatever however they're running their gear and then you just kind of like I guess that's one of the good things about the kind of open source community is that there's already as soon as these models drop there's just an army of people just seeing what they can do with it and some of them have like the whole sub set or like suite of tests that they run like they'll just
Mhm.
validate and like benchmark every one of them. Not
Right.
even not even the there's all the like the the actual like benchmarks, so to speak, but there's like the vibe test of like how many letters, how many R's are in the letter in the word strawberry or things like
Right.
that. Or if you follow the digital spaceport, he's got he's got like 4 or 5 uh big like situational tests of like, the world is ending, do this. Yeah, like it's like paragraphs of like things like what would you do to like save it or something, right? Like that type of thing. So a lot of just random kind of anecdotal benchmarks as well.
And real big shout out to all the guys that are taking advantage of this open source. When we're
Mm.
looking at the enterprise is generally, they're slow to adopt new things, but they're getting a lot of their information from what you said. A lot of these guys that are just opening these models up as soon as they're getting the bench testing done on them. I think that's wildly valuable. So huge shout out to everybody that's actually doing that work, because I don't know where you guys sleep or where you get any free time with everything that's coming out and how you're keeping up with this.
Yeah, I would agree, and I also do not know how they have the time as well. But yes, so I guess, and I guess I have to double another shout out to Deshaun. He got his 5090 last weekend, so I guess I'm going to Deshaun's house, and we'll see where you get with that. But yeah, it'd be nice to have one of those to play with as well.
Yep.
All right.
When are you going to become a colo? I would rather probably just buy something and ship it to your house and have you make it available for me in the Qwen colo.
We can arrange that.
Cool.
Yeah. Or I could just yeah. We'll talk offline. Yeah.
Yep. Between Deshaun's Pi army, your data center, and here I am. I'm getting a Turing Pi coming up, working on being able to do stuff with the Turing Pi, but I don't have the data center that you guys got.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I'm waiting to see when Deshaun's Pi army just starts taking over the world.
Yeah. Well, and it'll be the agentic AI army on Deshaun's Raspberry Pis.
Yep.
All right. So I'm gonna get my screen going. I'm gonna just kind of talk through some of these things as well.
Okay.
Screen share. Ooh. I'm gonna do window. I'm gonna do entire screen. How about that? Screen 2. All right, I apologize for narrating my screen commentary. Are we going to Inception?
It's perfectly good for the guys that are only listening on podcasts and they're not watching.
Yes, yeah. Listen to Nick to click through StreamYard. All right. Okay, so we have. Let me get my screen situated here. All right, so on the left, right. Let me clear this out. Okay, I'm gonna put this away for now, but all right, we'll make it a little bit bigger. All right, so we're talking about this latest model. If we go to the Olama, I need to get an Olama sticker. I really like whoever thought of this to be their mascot. Genius marketing. Props to whoever thought to do this. But anyway, if we go to the models here, we're gonna check out. We want to see some of the latest Qwen3. It's a mixture of experts models. You have like 2 different variants. So you have dense, which is like kind of like the full force, so to speak, and then you have the MoE models, which you have the subset of active billion parameters here. But the one that kind of piqued my interest on Reddit, if we scroll down here and we'll view all tags, people started really. I should have like pulled up the Reddit thread too on that, but that would require me to like really pre-plan this. And we all know this show runs on just-in-time delivery.
That's right.
So yeah,
pre-planning is not what we do, folks.
Yeah. All right, so if I can find it here. Yeah. Okay. So this is it. So we're talking about the Qwen3-30 billion parameter with active 3 billion. And then, I'm using a key for KM quant, which is just typical for like, this is like when you do an Olama poll, like that's going to be your most likely your default quant if you don't specify that as it, this matches this, right? That 19 gig, right? And then another key point too is like this model has 40K context window, and it is a reasoner or a thinker, and you can toggle thinking on and off in your system prompt or user prompt as well. So I think I can demonstrate that as well. But yeah, that's kind of what we're doing. And I went and I loaded this up in the Gen AI tile and deployed it to my foundation here. So I'll go to this is one of my test labs now, because some of my other environments are like basically production at this point, and I can't mess around like I do in these. I should it hates me.
Oh, the sad cloud.
Sad cloud.
Everybody in Cloud Foundry knows the sad cloud.
The sad cloud of ops manager.
That's right.
All right, we're there. We went through the sad cloud here, and oh boy, I should probably fix this. I got 7 days left on my certs, so what could go wrong? There's plenty of time to rotate them later.
And it's a good thing that Taz is coming out with all the automatic cert rotation stuff. That might help you out here.
Yeah, I have that. I just actually have to do it. Oh, while we're there, why mine a while? You very rarely often get a live situation. What certs is it complaining about? We're going to take a quick detour to see what are my certs going on. And this ops manager is kind of old too, so I even saw like a new. Oh, come on! What is going on with my computer? What are we doing here? Are we clicking? I don't know. It's thinking. All right. 7 days. My leaf. It's just my my standard cert. Oh, that's not because I've auto rotated all my leafs a while ago, right? So I got to like next year. I'm good there. But it's just my platform level cert. So yeah, I'll go make a new one, and I got to renew it every year or whatever type of thing. So anyway, on the latest,
Deshaun, that's thousands of minutes.
Yes,
that you saved yourself. Yep, absolutely true.
In the true spirit of just-in-time delivery, I will remember like a day before this happens or 2 days after it happens, and I get to do that cleanup.
I almost set a calendar reminder. I'll remind you in 4 days.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks.
Right. But I'll remind you on Tuesday so we don't break anything for next Thursday.
Yeah, perfect. All right. I'm gonna drill into the Gen AI Tanzu Platform tile, which is our friendly sidekick to our Cloud Foundry install. Mm-hmm. And this is the latest version, actually. Too. I don't know if I showed that off now, but we've got a lot of new configs and updates in here. But I'm gonna go in my model config. I'm just going to talk about some of these options that we're running. I'm going to drill into Qwen3, sorry. And then just kind of what we're doing here. We have chat and tools enabled for, functionality. Mm-hmm. And then advertising that via the service broker. But some key things that we've added to. So -1 for keep alive. So if you use the Olama, this is going to be pretty interesting thread, but it will automatically destage the model out of memory if it's not in use. But in our use cases, when we're spinning up Olama worker nodes and mapping them behind the AI server like load balancer thing, we want them to keep their model alive and running, because you don't want a cold hit, right? Because that cold hit in loading 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 gigabytes of memory, most times your client will wait, but sometimes it will time out just because depending on how it is, and you don't want to have that experience. So you do that in there. We have parallel requests in there to throttle some of the context length, because as we started doing this agentic AI workflow and things, and it can even show some of some testing with the app Corby wrote and Kurti wrote, but we need larger context windows, right? And a lot of people, even in the vibe coding scene, using local LLMs like that. That's a pretty Qwen's usually a kind of a go-to model in that regard, and then you need those higher context windows to have the model have more knowledge, more active knowledge about what to reason on. And then you can set the KV cache type as well to, set whatever quant level you need for the context as well. Because the context can take just as much memory as your VRAM or system memory as the actual model per se. And if you were running if you up this to 5, this would go way high, because it would run 5 copies of that context. You'd run out your space pretty quickly here. I'm pulling directly from Hugging Face here because I'm using an offline model with this situation. If you're in the scene, Bartowski, he's like this go-to guy on Hugging Face. He does a lot of the GGUF creations out there. So he's a great person to follow in the scene and follow his work. And then we also are providing a model file configuration as well. So these are some kind of advanced parameters with Olama that we've seen when we're doing these higher level agentic AI calls that you kind of need to set and handle, just to kind of get, to make sure the models don't go a little crazy on you and do what you need to do. And I am going to deploy this to a 2x large CPU worker. So I'm going to spin up a VM. That's going to equate to 18 cores, 18B CPUs, and 64 gigs of RAM. I probably don't even need 64 gigs of RAM here, but it's just that's what felt right. And we're going to go from there. So that's kind of like behind the scenes here. Now, I guess a key note, if you're going to do this today on the 10.03 tile, because Qwen just dropped like 2 or 3 days ago, you'll need to, on the back end, once this worker deploys, manually upgrade Ollama to like 0.66 or above. The 10.03 tile shipped with 0.65. We haven't, released a new version yet because it's only been like, I don't know, a few days. So just a heads up there. If you want to do this at home, you'll want to do a little manual upgrade there. It's just kind of upgrading that file on that worker to get this latest and greatest model. But I can post that on my GitHub how to do that if needed. But yeah, that's kind of like what we're doing here. And I've got some other models, 5.4s on. These are actually all CPU models right now. So yeah, but maybe we could even do a little mix and match between the two and see how they go through. 5.4 mini is also a good situation to use in the CPU land. Actually, I think Microsoft released new versions, like a reasoning model of 5.4 and 5.4 mini, I think today as well. So again, yeah, just another day, another giant set of models dropped. So hey, here we go. But that's kind of what's going on behind the scenes. Do you have any questions before I go on, Nikki? Does that make sense?
I do think, go down and talk about the model file configuration a little bit more for those that are not in the know. And, what is that really doing? What are we talking about there? What kind of options are we putting in?
Yeah. So this is essentially a template for how to respond to prompting and things. So you can just grab this directly from, like, if you go into here, go back maybe. A template. So they provide a template, but I guess the one thing is that when we do like a lot of our use cases or customers, like, they don't have access to pull directly from the Ollama library. It's blocked by their enterprise policy. So they have to pull their own, or either make their own or pull their own model files, which is essentially a .gguf file, right? But in order for Ollama to effectively use that, you also need to provide it this like kind of templated model file. And a lot of these newer models that support tools, right? You have this whole like block for tools, tell the model how to respond to functions and like how to process tool calls. Because you could, a model that doesn't support tools, you'll make a tool call and it'll just be like, sorry, it'll either just ignore like the prompt, the call, or it'll just give you some kind of like error. Like, I don't know what to do with that. Right. And then like for each function call, return a JSON object with the function name and argument. So it's like, it's calling a function, it's calling a tool, and then responding back like in a programmatic way that your app knows how to parse. And then your app will parse the JSON back and like present you back with what to do type of thing. So that's just kind of what this block is. The model providers will provide their own typically. Maybe even 5.4, there's some kind of debate between Microsoft and Ollama of like Microsoft has like a newer version of their template you can use and provide that. And we can kind of get into that as well. We actually have some of this as well documented in our documents, tech docs here. Let's go.
So this isn't like a base system prompt. This is actually configuration of the model.
Yeah, it's like template. You can do system prompts. You can do like you can do a lot of things in there as well. But this is like if you don't, some of these models, if you don't provide it, like they won't know how to respond to tools, or like in the case of 5.4 mini, you don't provide it a model file, it will just be like an infinite loop where like you'll say hi and it's just like just start writing you a book of nonsense type of thing. So it's kind of like a how to guide, so to speak.
Gotcha. Okay.
Where is this? How to guides. I found this the other day, and now there's some kind of guide in here that I was going to load. And yeah, hey, another question is like our documents are getting updated. So if you like, you could check these out, and there's some pretty good tidbits here. But now, is it
We'll tell
I'll
you
have to,
what, let's
yeah,
throw that
yeah,
into the show notes
yeah.
because it usually takes us a day or two to get show notes out. But we'll throw that link in the show notes so people can kind of understand what the model file looks like and what its function is.
Yes, 100%. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's see how this thing works, right? Okay, so I've gone. Oh, I should probably expand this because it's probably huge or tiny. Um, we have some services deployed, right? So I've got the Qwen3 model deployed. I went and went through the marketplace and got my service instance created. I've actually bound it to the application. We have some other like an MCP server and stuff in there too that we can use in CoreWeave's app. So let's go and dive into that.
I'm going to say it's very interesting that I see a Bitcoin MCP server.
Oh well, yeah. If you, in a couple episodes ago, we talked about Kurt's Bitcoin addiction and gambling problem, but we there's a great clip of there. I was like, this is like if if I was making YouTube shorts to help promote the show, like this would be like this 30-second block of that episode would be great. All right, so
well, let's talk when this is over. We'll get that one put out. I'll put
yes,
that out
yeah. All right, so I've got Qwen loaded. So yeah, we've gone over this. This is kind of like a little sample app to demo here. We've got Qwen loaded, agents. So we have our Bitcoin MCP server registered as well. So let's talk here. So we're gonna say hello. If I can say hello, which is yeah. So now we'll see if this picked this up because like where you prompt. So hello again, how can I help you today? So like it still knows I'm around. So let's say what tools are available. I should type thank God for spell check.
Well, that's the great thing about AI nowadays is
Yeah.
it infers what you're trying to say without the fact of you having to say it properly.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I got my AI, my other AI checking my, I guess Grammarly or whatever. Right. Okay, so I see tools, right? So like, and it's coming back pretty snappy here. But the fact that like this model is not just like wildly hallucinating or just like spitting out gibberish right now is pretty awesome, right? Because it's like it's actually smart enough, right? Because typically, right, and maybe we can even try this. Like if I think I try this with 5.4, it might be just as fast or a little snappier, but it's just gonna give me garbage, right? Because it's only a 3.8 billion parameter model, but this is a 30 billion with 3 billion active, right? So, all right, okay, so now it's working and it says, hey, I can see this. And there's actually some other MCP servers who get like a time server, like at the current time, which models don't really know about, right? Because the training data and stuff. But like, what's the current, right? Price of Bitcoin in USD. Right. And then it's so like what's happening now, it's gonna go call that MCP server that queries the some random crypto index. I don't know. Cause like I try to like validate this and it's usually really close, but then like, is there a single source of truth for the actual price of Bitcoin? No, there's like 1,000 indexes and they all trade differently, slightly different, right? That type of thing. So it's running, it's trying to do its thing. Let me break. I wanted to bring up my system here. So yeah, so here. All right. Oh, okay. Did it finish already? All right, no, it's still running. So, can I zoom in on this? All right.
Yeah, it's fixed to say we're gonna have to blow in on that.
Yeah. All right. Well, before I pulled it up, it already finished. But so let's see. I'll go back to here. So okay, the user asks the current price of Bitcoin USD. I need to check out what the tool to use. So this is some of the reasoning. So it's like, right, one, like if you like, I was trying to fire up Open Web UI in this foundation. I don't know if it pushed beforehand, but like Open Web UI will have the when these reasoning models start thinking, it will like do a little like I'm thinking, icon. So like in this response, you're starting to get like its chain of thought type of thing. And so we say, okay, I should probably use these tools, but wait, just that what's it like, it's thinking like it's like all this internal stuff. So I'll generate the tool call with a currency parameter as USD. So it's like, hey, like what tool should I use? And I'm like, oh, wait, like what did he ask? Like, oh, I want it in USD because it can call it by like euros or whatever, right?
Right.
And then the response comes back. I'll format the answers to the response to the tools, and 9703. I think that's probably $97,000 is probably pretty close to the current price. I don't know if you want to fact check this.
I will.
Right. Whatever crypto index you find, it's probably I I think it fluctuates rapidly. The current price of Bitcoin in USD is 97,000, 36 USD. And prices can fluctuate rapidly. So check a reliable exchange or tracking service for real-time updates. Rocket ship emoji, right?
So market summary's coming back with $96,962. So
yeah, so pretty close, and yeah, I think that calls it, because I'd have to look at the code of that. Yeah, we should probably find whatever exchange that MCP server is calling, and then like have that exchange up too. But I will take that as a win. So the fact that this sector responded pretty well, it didn't time out, everything's like happy, and it's accurate. That that's kind of like my big thing here, right?
Yep. And I love the way that it actually explained out exactly how it's reasoning as a response back to you.
Well, yeah, that's another thing too. It's like, yeah, we might get some of these smaller, we'll call them SLMs per se, to reason, or to just be like your normal LLMs, but the reasoning usually just is a no-go, right? So like, I have not, like, this is kind of like, I guess why I'm kind of jazzed about this, to funnel some Deshaun energy, is I have yet to see a CPU model one be this accurate and this intelligent and snappy enough to like not walk away and be apt to crash and timeout type of thing. But the fact that it also is a reasoning model, because usually like the reasoning models are like really, it really slows it down type of thing. Right. And yeah, if you use probably the Qwen3 like 4b non-reasoning, or I don't know if there's, I don't know if maybe that's also a reasoning model. Like maybe if we use the smaller version, it might be a little faster, but we're getting, this seems to be like the sweet spot of, hey, we've optimized the model for general inference on pretty much anything, right? And it's at the same time, it's smart enough not to just be silly, right? So that's great. And then two, like, let's get into like, and you'd be like, well, like, I've got my screen over here. I'll ask it another question. Let's say, let's see what's it in euro, right? Yeah, that makes sense, right? So what's the current price of Bitcoin in euro? Because I want to show that like the underlying architecture, like the worker itself, right? What's the price in euro? Blah blah blah. We'll do that. So now this 18 core VM's firing up. He going pretty much in all cylinders, but all cores are spiking. But this is just commodity grade gear, right? I'm talking. I have a Cascade Lake VM, so I'm using like basically a fraction of a host right now. And it's calling out there, and yeah, it's going to take some time because it's calling that server and it's processing and it's thinking, so it's a little slower, but it should hopefully come back with the actual processor, the actual appropriate answer here. And yeah, okay, or see my chain of thought going on, very similar for get price, but like, but let's set the parameter to euro instead, right? And current price of Bitcoin in euros is 85,000, 904, right? So.
Yep, this one was off by what, $54 from what we're seeing, just doing a Google search right now.
Yeah. So again, yeah, and
it was very quick. I mean,
yeah, because it's like, yeah, in a lot of these cases too, when you do this, some of these might time out and just not return type of thing too. So again, this is pretty interesting. It's working out really well and it kind of giving you like that whole thought process, like this is what I'm doing, that type of thing. So again, like Qwen3 30 billion with the 3 billion active parameters. If we start to see more and more models take this approach, really interesting to see, right? Because we're as we progress, right, like we can only make so many GPUs, right? And NVIDIA is only really incentivized to sell to the top tier, like they really just want to sell you racks of huge amounts of, gear at the same time. Right. So, but again, I know like there's a lot of equipment out there, just, potentially not even being used or underutilized, where we're talking in the Tanzu Platform sense, throw this tile in your install, throw a couple workers on your existing infrastructure. And then you have some really interesting stuff to go on here. And yeah, if I throw a GPU on this thing, it's going to be faster, right? For sure. But
again, well, that's what I was going to ask you. I mean, where do you see the sweet spot for this? Is this do you see this more as a prototyping model to prove out, like a proof of value for an application that a user's using, or do you see this as a main model?
Yeah. So, I mean, like, one, you could say this is going to be the main model, right? So I guess this is where you can take the approach of we want to start on CPUs, right?
Mhm.
And we want to prototype, but we're going to then take that same exact model and we may get some lucky. We may like, Bobby found the old VDI servers with a bunch of, A16s in them. Like, oh, sweet. Like, well, we can use those, right? Or somebody like dropped an H100 off a truck and now we have it. Like then we can, like you could go like the full private AI route and like have these huge models and use that. And that's going to be great too. Right. But you could also use the same models on that whole approach. But it's just really like, if you have that GPU, you can run the same model. And I think really here, what's key is that, we're already like this context length is, and the model itself is using, it's all at Q4, right? So it's even like we could run a higher quant and then double this, essentially go to like 42, 44 gigs used of RAM, just going from Q4 to Q8, right?
Right.
That stuff in memory has to then translate. If you want to go to GPUs, has to mostly translate fully into a GPU. So you're already talking about higher end GPU or multiple GPUs as well.
Mhm.
And then that's where you're certainly like, it's going to be, you put this behind, like I have like multiple rigs now that have quad GPUs. You can run this on like VLM and you do like a quad, GPU setup. It's going to be almost instantaneous or a lot faster. But at the same time, not many people have access to that. And unless you're doing the eBay junkyard wars like I am, you're like from an enterprise perspective, you're going to be capacity constrained, right? Unless you're just lucky and you have a some budget line item to make a hardware vendor pretty happy with a pretty large purchase. So
And that's where
either
the
way.
whole architecture of this comes in, is really
Mhm,
trying to figure out, what's your use case? Is this
mhm,
something where a 1 or 2 minute wait will be okay? Or is it something that you need instantaneous back? I mean, this is really starting out a whole new architecture. I won't say shift, an architecture paradigm, right?
mhm.
Of how we're going to combine models with infrastructure, with, what we're doing from a use case perspective.
Right, right. And
This
I
is
mean,
really AI is going to spin out a whole new thought process and work stream for how architects and developers are looking.
yeah, and this very well could be, uh, you know, I don't have a new, like, again, like this is pretty much almost a slightly, I would say, close to acceptable response rate. And yeah, maybe I wish it could be a little bit snappier, but if they make a version that like permanently disables the thinking, it might come back faster type of thing, and you might just get like this bottom part, like, right, and you won't get this whole chunk here. And there's a way to do. I wonder. Let me try that here. Let's try
What I was
this.
going to ask, I mean, that's one of the purposes of this. Yeah, I was going to say is that the hybrid model, you could kind of toggle it on and off, and I wonder what the
Yeah.
impact would
So
be.
we'll see. We'll see if this works. I was playing around with this earlier, so I don't know if it's going to respond faster or not. But I think if I add that slash no think, it will then we should maybe just get this bottom part, right? I'm guessing. All right, so that was a little bit faster, and it was
Mhm.
more yes, based on the later boom, like right. So it's like the fact that this is still accurate and still working and like pretty snappy. And again, before on other CPU based models, it was either going to be really slow or just they would really struggle on the MCP calls or like the tooling calls because that's you got to throw the context window high and that type of thing. So yeah, you could and what we have today too, like if we go back to that model config, you could say, hey, we could throttle it and help balance performance, but I wanted there's a
So I'm
somewhere in
guessing
there.
the default
Yeah.
now is, because you had to put the no think. The default for the Qwen is thinking model.
Yeah, yeah. I
Is
think
that something that you could put into the model config, or is that something that you can put in as a main system prompt to say, hey, always use the non-thinking model unless specifically asked otherwise?
Yeah. Well, I think there's a way in this model file to say a system prompt. I was messing around with that on the show before, like beforehand, but like it didn't like I was trying to add something in here like system, like slash no think. I think
Mhm.
maybe it's I don't know. If anybody's watching and knows like what the correct syntax here is for the Olama config to do like a permanent no think. That's interesting. It'd be interesting to think as well, or see. But yeah, that's this is still this is days old, and I didn't see, like it is interesting to see where like you don't like, it's almost nice too to say, hey, uh, I like based on some questions, I kind of like the chain of thought and I like to see
Mhm.
what it's doing, right? And
Right.
it kind of helps, like validate, like, all right, this thing isn't just going insane and just making this up, right? Because like even on the like on another like non MCP enabled LLM, you ask the current price of Bitcoin, it's either going to be like I don't know, or it's just going to lie to you and hallucinate and be like current price of Bitcoin's like $5, and like be very confident in its answer, and you're like no, that's wrong. But I think maybe in this case, like the reasoning is it does slow it down a little bit, but it also kind of validates what's going on. And you can think too, like if it was like if you had an MCP client, like doing an internal like scrape of your documents and like crawling things like an internal web browser, and it's like, hey, I found this Confluence doc on you asked about project XYZ. Here's what I think about that, and like here's my reasoning. You may be a little bit more akin to kind of it's a vibe check for your vibe coding type of thing. I don't know. But yeah, that's kind of where it's at. So
And are coming from is Broadcom looking at as part of this? Are they looking at putting in a feature where you could put in that base system prompt to say, hey, here's how I want my agents to think when they're spun up from the start. That way, you kind of got a common set of instructions for everything that comes up, but then you could modify those through the AI prompt itself.
mhm. So I know we're looking at like extending some of the AI server stuff to be like more like have MCP more natively enabled, right? Because right now, like if you may have not seen this, right? So if you go to services here, so we actually registered this MCP server
Hmm.
as a UPS, like user provided server, right?
Right.
All right, so we have this deployed. It's just another app running on Cloud Foundry, and you could run a ton of these little, apps that like there's a time server, so you could tell the time. I don't know, a bajillion MCP servers out there now, right? You can you could use these examples to like craft whatever you'd like to do. Like Kote's got things that plays Dungeons and Dragons, right? Or like
Hmm.
and all the sub universe of all the different things in the Dungeons and Dragons space. I don't even like whatever like he that's his thing. He knows all about it, right? Um, so that it's just kind of like it's really interesting to see, and Corby also has like the CF Pulse client where you can have it like interact with the Cloud Foundry, like hey, scale my app, and it's going to do that too, right? Like,
Hmm.
and this other app will see that, pick up and see it in here as well. So um, we're doing a lot in this space, obviously, but some of this is like the app side implementation. Some of it's like platform level to make it easier for all apps on the platform to use, type of thing. Just a little bit of everything, so to speak. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be something that would be interesting, just forward thinking here.
Mm-hmm.
When I go to spin up one of these servers, I'm generally going to spin this up with a particular purpose in mind, and it would be nice, I think, to be able to provide the model that I'm spinning up. Here's the base set. Here's the system prompt. Here's the base set of instructions that I want the server to work under, and then we can modify those with the AI prompt of what we're pushing into it.
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, a lot of the chat and things of that nature are going to come in as the AI prompt, but something for you guys to consider.
Yeah. Yeah. I think yeah, I think we're still just, I mean, I know I probably said this a lot. We're still just scratching the surface in some of these things, right? Like,
Mhm.
so I'm really excited to see what we do kind of going forward. Um, and uh, I personally get kind of geeked out about the infrastructure space and what we can do with that, just because like before my decade plus or more experience in platform land, I was and for some of that time that overlapped where I had many hats, right? I was also like the VMware architect, VI admin, and I love hardware, so that's why I kind of have like a lab slash data center in my house because it's kind of like my hobby and also kind of plugs into my job. So I guess it's the best of both worlds, right?
Yep.
Um, so yeah, but it's pretty cool to see that like these models are coming out. I think 6 months from now, who knows what we'll have? Like this MoE approach of taking um, multiple, a much higher billion parameter model and only activating a small subset. It seems to be that good balance of like performance and like basically at this point, like if I can run this on Cascade Lake CPUs, you could assume, you know, like this doesn't even really have the Intel, like, so like if we talk Intel land, I think this is what 2 or 3 generations. So we went from Cascade Lake to Ice Lake. Maybe there's one in between, but then the Sky Lake was Sapphire Rapids was the first one to have that Intel extension, the AMX extensions that really accelerated LLMs on CPUs. So that, I know customers that are racking and stacking at least that, if not Emerald Rapids, or if even there's a new one now, I forgot, but like they changed the naming, now it's something completely different, right? Where those, like, you just have a lot of like enhanced, instruction set things that will make this process go just probably orders of magnitude faster. So I need to get my hands on newer gear, or I need to get my hands on some of these these newer Epic systems too, because they also have things in the, a lot of it's about memory bandwidth as well. So the newer systems are coming out like DDR5 and like all this jazz. So lots of things to go out there, but I think this model to me seems to be like the first, like, I could probably run some like real applications on this thing, because we could sail this out, run multiple workers of this, and load balance requests coming in, and and be pretty interesting. And then again, take that same exact model, throw it on a GPU, maybe up the quant level to get a little bit better accuracy, so to speak. But my apps won't really know the difference. I can just unbind, rebind, and boom, now it's gonna respond faster, type of thing. So that's kind of where that was my thought process for today, and hopefully that was useful for people. Even if
let's say we throw the challenge out there,
Yeah.
So people that are listening, go play with Qwen5 or Qwen3.
Oh, Qwen5's out.
Yeah.
Yes, I would like to.
It's been 15 minutes. I'm sure they've released something new, but Qwen3. So throw the challenge out there. Go use Qwen3. Come back in the comments and tell us what you thought, what you saw good, what you saw bad, because I think that would be interesting. And maybe, even throw out potential use cases that you'd like to see on the show. I'd love to see the community get involved and, actually go out and try some of this stuff and come back with what they think on it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And yeah, I'm excited to see and hear what people are doing.
Yep, absolutely.
All right.
Talking about my stuff, that was one of the reasons we go into Coder. We're releasing agentic AI as part of the Coder from a development standpoint, and being able to use AI in that. And that's one of the things that we've got in the templates, is the ability to put that system prompt in there. They can kind of scope what the AI is going to be allowed to do. Maybe not as important from the OSS side, but when you start talking to enterprises and some of their hesitancy to come into AI, but being able to scope what those models are going to do from the onset, and then let the developers come in and change that through whatever they're doing with their application. I think that would be huge. I'd be interested, Nick, putting that little nugget in your head. I know this is kind of your baby, to come back and see what y'all's take is on being able to do the system prompting from that.
No, I mean, yeah, we can provide a system prompt. I couldn't figure out the proper syntax to not make it puke in like 10 minutes before the show. So I punted, and I knew the /no think would work in the prompt. So that's where I went.
Well, and I do think that that's huge, to be able to scope it down just from the prompt that you're doing from the AI prompt side. Hey, I want you to reason. I don't want you to reason. And that's one of the big takeaways, I think, from Qwen3, is the ability to be in that hybrid model and being able to kind of dictate to it what I want you to use, what I don't.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, it's just exciting to see how much advancement we have just almost constantly now in this area, right? Even if you just think about where we were a year ago, how much has it, gotten better and changed and that type of thing. So,
and it's interesting, there's a lot of comparison going on between the AI boom and the .com boom. The AI boom is blowing this out of the way. I mean, we saw a lot of .com stuff come in and fundamentally changed how we, do shopping, how we access information. AI is even more so, because the rate of progress, everything that we just talked about today, is probably going to be obsolete in the next 2 or 3 weeks. There's going to be something new out, some new models going to come out. I mean, going back to how people are able to keep up with this, they don't sleep, but every new model that's coming out is addressing something new. It's improving what we're going to be doing with it. And we've got a lot of people, if you've paid attention to LinkedIn and Twitter, there's this whole battle going on between AI is coming to take your jobs versus AI is so bad at at coding and helping developers that it shouldn't be trusted.
Hmm.
But there's this huge swath in the middle that people are not paying attention to, and it's improving. Uh, I almost want to say on a even faster than a daily basis. I mean, some of these things we're seeing 2 or 3 releases in a day come
Oh
out to
yeah.
make changes. It's
Hmm.
amazing to me how much this is going to impact us.
Yeah, I think the velocity, and if you think about like some of the more of like, let's say, the advanced thought process or researchers in this field, there's like this debate of like when AGI will happen, how long it's out, and you know, are we hardware bound? Do we have enough? Are we building enough nuclear power plants
Mhm.
to really fuel the next 5 to 10 years of innovation, that type of thing? Um, and is it an AI race, or is it just like an infinite? Like, will it ever end? Like, oh, the AI wars. Like, well, that implies that it ever ends, right? Or like it's like a new. It's just going to be like maybe this constant of like new model, new model, new model. Like we're constantly iterating and building on top of the previous success, so to speak. So I think it's going to be like kind of this long term. I don't see us stopping anytime soon, and maybe it ends when Skynet is created, and that and and it ends when humanity stops feeling the growth of AI, and we start fighting it. I don't know. Maybe that's the end. Who knows? But it's a pretty exciting time to be in, and I think, I guess, if I had a closing thought of my ramblings here, it's really great to see how we can take Cloud Foundry and have it just be like this core kind of platform for development, because like in this day and age, I really want to focus on pushing my apps. I want to focus on connecting to these AI systems. I want to do things like MCP and like do this agentic AI pattern. I really don't want to figure out how to run my app, or like get a database or whatever, or really figure out how to run this AI infrastructure. Because like I personally spent a lot of time figuring out a lot of these things and how to connect them in different parameters and things. But it's really nice just to say, hey, we got this package. You just install it, and it's ready to go, type of thing. So I
Well,
guess
here
just a shameless plug for a platform as a service with AI capabilities, so to speak. But yeah.
Well, I think there's 2 things. One, with Cloud Foundry, making AI more accessible to people, making it easier to
Hmm.
install and get running, that is a huge boon because AI is gonna be there. It's gonna permeate every aspect of our lives in some way, shape, or form.
Hmm.
So, with all the developers out there that are now getting into this, the ability to make it easier for developers, anything that makes it easier for developers to come in and use AI is gonna be
Hmm.
huge. I think the second part of what we're gonna see from this, and this is my opinion only, but we are changing the way that development is going to be done with AI. We look at all the advancements that come through AI. Most of them have been bound to the IDE, right? So you're seeing Copilot, you're seeing all these code assistants that are coming out, but they're still bound to the IDE. What we're seeing with things like agentic AI is we're taking now that out of the IDE. I foresee very soon where development is going to be done through natural language. It's not going to be done
Hmm.
through an IDE. I think the IDE is still going to be a part of it, but we're going to see, agentic AI. We're already starting to see AI building, agents building agents. We're starting to see agents building MCP servers. So I
Hmm.
think that you're going to start seeing development kind of take a change in 2 ways. One, the fact that we're going to get it out of the IDE and we're going to start seeing, development done through natural language. And I think it's going to heighten those people that are really good at their jobs and really good senior developers to kind of be the double checks. Um, Double checks not the right word, kind of the cat herders of the AI to make
Hmm.
sure that what it's doing is correct and making sure that things get updated, um, and how that's being used. Because you still, like you said, if you're not aware, hallucinations can really be a bane to your existence.
Hmm.
So you still
Hmm.
see somebody to kind of come in and validate and hold the big stick, but
Hmm.
making development and everything accessible to everyone. That's kind of where I see where it's going.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And I guess too, one more closing thought. If you're out there and you think you can't do this stuff because you don't have GPUs, I think if you watch this, if you made it this far in the show, I think and even on previous shows, like that's not the case. Like you can get started now, and I think soon, if not now, or if uh, shortly, based on some of these releases and what gear you have, you could probably run actually some, pseudo production, if not close to production type of style workloads, depending on the app use case, on what we're seeing today. So, just get out there, get started. Every now and then I'll hear that, like, our certain Tanzu friends or some of our customers don't even know what we've been doing lately, and I'm like, hey, check it out. Yeah, I've been trying to get the word out as much as I can, but check it out. It's you don't have to wait. There's a lot of options to get started, and if anything, it's just a great way to learn the space for your own personal edification, so to speak. But yeah.
Yep. And that's one of the things I love about what you do on this show is that you do try to make it accessible to everybody. You don't need to have a whole lot of expense to do this. And we're going to see that start changing as well. I mean, with, Project Digits, I don't remember what the new name of it is, making AI hardware more accessible. I think we're going to start seeing, as this becomes more prevalent, we're going to start seeing some hardware, tariffs and all the other things aside right now. But we're going to start seeing the cost of this because it's going to start being embedded. I mean, Internet of Things. Nobody thought that was possible. And now that's taken over as well. So, don't operate from a place of fear. A lot of people are getting in the extremes of the AI debate. Start looking in the middle ground. And like Nick said, just jump in and start trying it. I think you'll be surprised at what you can do.
Yeah. And if anything, you can use it for your own personal use.
That's a whole other show.
Well, no. I meant like for your own daily job of like, hey, I could easily plug this into continue.dev and have it like help me write some code, or not vibe code per se, but like I'm not even ready for vibe coding. I'm not fully entrenched like Kote is, but even just like, hey, help me write this bash script to do this thing. And then like typically they'll get you there. They'll get you pretty close, and you don't have to worry about paying per token type of thing, right? Because the fully bodied vibe coders are starting to see these monthly bills become a little bit problem, where the vibe coding can use a lot of tokens. But anyway.
Yeah, especially, and that is one of the things. I'll go back, vibe coding. I'm a fan. I love the fact that we're making software development accessible to everyone, even those people that aren't developers. But you still got to kind of learn the ins and outs to make sure that what you're doing is, the last thing you want to do is send something out that goes an infinite loop, and the next thing you know, you got a huge bill because you weren't prepared on how to ask the AI to help you or give it a good enough instruction to really kind of get what you want.
Exactly.
Yep.
All right. Well, I guess we're a little over time, but thanks for hanging out with us. We're actually about right on an hour because it's we're about 3 minutes late. So, and now's a great time to like and subscribe. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
The massive pillow.
I have this ridiculous pillow still. I should replace it, but now it's just become a thing where I fight with it every time. I should probably do this in the beginning of the show too, for all those people who don't make it this far. But hey, if you made it this far, you should like and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. Check out cloudfoundryweekly.com. We do post this on podcast format of your podcast player of choice. I am a week behind in posting. I'm sorry. So I'll get caught up here this week on both episodes. But we're out there. Check us out. That helps kind of get more traction with the show and increase our audience. And if you'd ever like to come on the show, talk about how you're using Cloud Foundry, if you're in our ecosystem, what you want to do, just let us know. Happy to have you on. And don't forget about Cloud Foundry Day, where we'll do another live show with friends live. And
not only like and subscribe, but comment. Tell us what we're doing right. Tell us what we're doing wrong. What you want to see next. Let's see some comments out there. I mean, we're building this show for you guys. So, we know that AI is popular, but there's other things. I know there's questions out there that people have. So leave us a comment. Look us up on LinkedIn. Look us up on Twitter. All the episodes, I'm a couple weeks behind as well due to travel, but all the episodes are going to have links in there where you can reach out to me or Nick or others, whoever's on the show for that week. Reach out to us. We'd love to talk to you.
All right. I guess with that, should we close out, Nikki?
We should. I think
all
so.
Right.
And thank you for all the guys that were in the chat, Keith, Sean, everybody else.
So. And thanks for all our current live streamers making it this far. I would award you with something, but I can't right now. So thanks. If you ever see me in person, we'll get you a sticker, whatever. Thanks for watching. But we'll do our sign off here. 3, 2, 1.
CF bye.
Bye.